Welcome everybody to the Black Flag Running Club, and this is our week 10 training heading into our Saturday long run. Hope everybody this past week was able to get out there and do a little bit of those hill repeats that we had going in the Florida Canyon area. If you haven't done those, make sure that you're staying on top of that. It's really going to add a lot to your overall performance and your total finishing time. It's okay if you missed one, but let's not get too many. The hill at Torrey Pines doesn't get any shorter, so we need to make sure we spend some time on it. So that brings us to this week. This Saturday, we are going to take on Torrey Pines Road. We had scheduled for us to be at Rehab United, but obviously all major gyms and public gathering places have been closed. So we are still going to meet at the same general location and do the same run. Unfortunately, we're going to be missing some of the orientation that we usually get from that we normally get from Rehab United. But the hope is that later in the season, we're going to get the opportunity to go back and visit them again. So don't worry, they're still on the docket. We just had to postpone a little bit. So with that, why don't we go ahead and take a look at which each one of those groups are going to be running this weekend. Alrighty, so group reviews. So first up, we've got the group that's training for La Jolla. Now, if you're training for La Jolla, most of you are going to be doing about 10 miles this weekend, or if you're part of the Run Walk program, you'll be doing a 1-4 or 1-9 interval for a total of 120 minutes. So if you're running La Jolla, there will be two groups that are training in that. The Run Walk group will be doing 120 minutes at a 1-4 or 1-9 interval, or the intermediate group will be doing a total of 10 miles. If you're training for Rock and Roll and you're part of the half marathon program, we have the Run Walk group that'll be doing 100 minutes at a 1-4 or 1-9 interval. So that's 1 minute walking with a 4-minute run, or 1 minute walking with a 9-minute run. The intermediate group will be doing a total of 10 miles this weekend. And then the PR Chasers, you're going to be doing a total of 11 miles. We've got you scheduled to do an easy 7, and then your last 4, you're going to bring up to lactate threshold. And again, what does that mean? That means you're just going to bring it up that it's basically as fast as you can possibly sustain for the duration of time that's being left in the run. So for you guys, again, you're going to spend the first 7 miles nice and easy, and then once you start coming down the top of Torrey Pines Hill, you're going to turn up the juice a little bit and keep at that race pace for the remaining 4 miles. Next up, we have the full marathon training program for Rock and Roll. For them, if you're part of the Run Walk program, you're going to be doing a 1-4 and or 1-9 interval, but bringing your total time up to 120 minutes. And this is important to note that this is where you start to separate a little bit on your long runs than that of the rest of the group. So you're going to start to see a small increase in the total mileage and distance that you'll be covering on your Saturday runs. The intermediate group, you're going to be doing this is the full marathon training for Rock and Roll. You guys will be doing a total of 12 miles. And for the PR Chasers, you've got a nice and easy run today, but we're just increasing the distance, not necessarily the level of intensity. We're taking you guys up to 16 miles this weekend. So from that, that is each one of the 3 major groups preparing for the next couple races we've got coming up. Next up is the restart group. So you guys are falling into week 2, and these are for individuals that maybe are trying to get back into running again, have been in part of the program, but maybe took a period of time off. For them, we are in week 2. The Run Walk program is going to be doing a total of 80 minutes. You've got 2 interval groups with that. That's either going to be 3-2, so 3-minute walking with 2-minute running, or a 4-6, which is 4-minute walking or 6 minutes running, for a total of 80 minutes this weekend. And then again, for the restart group, for the intermediate group, you've got an easy 7 prescribed for you. Alrighty, so let's take a look at where we're running this weekend. So we are initially going to meet at the corner of Sereno Valley Road and Carmel Mountain Road. So those two come to a dead end, and right where those two come together, there's a dead end street. That is where you're going to park for this weekend's run. At the end of that dead end, you'll see that there's a break in the fence, and it's a pedestrian-friendly break, so it's not like we're sneaking into somebody's backyard. You're going to run along this maintenance road, and it's going to take you up to Carmel Valley Road. From there, I'm going to recommend that you cross the street, actually, just because there's a sidewalk on that side. You're going to cross the stoplight, and you're going to run around Carmel Valley Road until you get to the entrance to the Torrey Pines State Park entrance. From there, you're going to cross again on that street. You're going to run in through the parking lot and past the guard station. At the end, near the bathrooms, you're going to make a cut through that's going to take you actually underneath Torrey Pines Road. Now, just for a small side note here, there is quite a bit of construction that's happening in this area. So last time I was there, which was about 2 weeks ago, the entrance had moved slightly more north. But just be mindful, you may have to, figure this out on the fly when you get there. But at that point, you're going to end up back on Torrey Pines Road. You are then going to be heading towards Torrey Pines. You're going to stay as if you're going to enter in through the main parking lot, past the guard station again. There's another booth there, and you're going to follow the pedestrian pathway all the way through Torrey Pines State Park or Torrey Pines Park Road. There are several bathrooms and water fountains that you'll cross from there. And then as you get a little closer towards the 4-mile mark, you'll note that you're going to eventually end up on the main street of Torrey Pines Road. Depending on how far you're going to be going, for those of us that are going to be doing at least 12 miles, your turnaround point is going to be at the corner of North Torrey Pines Road and Genesee. For those of us that are doing 10 miles, your turnaround point is going to be closer to where the golf driving range is at the end of the golf driving range. That is going to be closer to where your turnaround point is going to be. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We will be on Facebook and can answer those, and or you can always send an email to coach@blackflagrunningclub.com, and I'll connect with you and make sure that we get all those questions answered for you. Alrighty, just because we're on quarantine right now, we're not running as a big group, it's really important that you stay on top of your training. We're not really that far off from some of these major races. So La Jolla is only about 4 weeks out, and then we've got Rock and Roll, which is about 9. So we're really starting to make those final decisions here. If you're going to be running for the full, we need to really make sure that we're staying on top of our training. If you are going to be dropping down to the half marathon, we've got a little bit more wiggle room in our training approach for that. But in any event, they're both going to be coming up before you know it. So again, stay on top of your training. And, we'll be in the best shape that we possibly can be given our circumstances here in preparation for those races. I also hope that everyone had the opportunity to get out there and try the treadmill workouts. Again, those are relatively new to the program, but I'd love to get some feedback. I do think that this first one that we put out there, it's kind of more on the intense side. The intervals tended to be a little bit longer than maybe we've done before, but my hope is that you felt a little bit of soreness in your legs. And if that happened, the good part about that is that means that is our first sign that that's going to transition into overall leg speed. So don't worry too much about it. They're going to be hard in the beginning, but the more practice we keep at these higher level intensity runs, again, as long as we don't do too many of them and we do incorporate our recovery weeks when those things come around, we should be in good shape when it's all said and done. I just wanted to make another comment about park closures and parking lot closures, the trails sometimes that we run on. I know that there was a comment that was posted on Facebook about what we're doing as it relates to that. So for the most part, we're going to try to make some adjustments in our meeting locations and what we do to accommodate for some of those closures that's coming up. But for example, we had Morley Field this past week. You're able to park along the street and or off of Texas Street so that it didn't impact the actual parking lot itself. For example, this weekend, we're actually parking on a public street, and as far as, taking ourselves up into the state park, I went ahead and checked on the website today. The state park is currently still open, and even if they close down the guard station, we will be able to run from a public access perspective directly up of what's identified on the map. So I'm not anticipating any huge issues on that yet, but if there are, obviously give us feedback and we'll make those adjustments as we move forward. And that concludes all of our announcements for this weekend. So with that, make sure to stay connected, be safe, run strong, and we'll see you guys on Monday morning with our next video post.